You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hi, everybody. This is Talking Shop, and we get a whole hour with creator Travis Hill. We'll be right back to talk about that in a second. See, that's what happens when there's a giant rainstorm. I just have hiccups in what I'm saying in my words. I am super excited to talk today. I don't know if you guys know this, but when I go and do research for the show, I love doing it. I like to go look at all the stuff in the background for creators. In this case, the creator actually provided a really detailed bio. So the fun here is that I get to learn more and more about creators. And since I'm a retailer, it helps me be informed for what I want to carry for the rack at the store. And this show is specifically made for you so that you know what to ask your LCS for, to put in your pull box or to put on a wish list. So just make sure that you connect with them, because you knowing doesn't let them know what you want. And they can't read your mind, however much they might want to. They really would love to do that. All right, everyone, please welcome Travis Hill.
Hello,
Travis.
hello, Jen, and everyone out there in the cadet verse, commander verse, Commander Jen, and your viewers. Do they have a name? Are they cadets? I don't know.
Probably some of them.
Okay.
If they'll admit it.
Okay.
No, I think because this is specifically put out for the experience, I think this is a very wide audience, because the point of the experience is to try to reach not only people that are already comic booked, but people that are completely uncomic booked, to give them a safe place to, like, if they're real nervous about going to a local comic shop, like they might feel like, I don't know, pointed out for being someone that doesn't know anything. They might be nervous. They walk in and say, hey, I don't do comic books. How do I find a comic book? They might be worried that someone would be like, ha, you're not a comic book person.
Yeah.
But really, we made this to make a safe place so people could just watch it at their leisure and say, now I know a thing about Travis Hill and I want to go buy one.
There we go. Well, that's helpful, because I know I've had many experiences in comic book shops growing up, and some good, some bad. And the shop I grew up at, this is a little off topic, and then we get to whatever else.
I totally want to know about this, because this is important. This is like your origin story.
So I grew up going to this shop called Generation X. It was across the street. My mom worked at a church, at a Baptist church, at a Southern Baptist church. Get some more detail. There you go. And I would skip church on Wednesday nights. I would be dropped off at church. Mm-hmm. If she ever watches one of these shows, I talk about this all the time. If she ever watches one of these shows, I'm in trouble. But I would skip church some Wednesdays and walk over to this comic book shop that was right across the street, and would go in. And every time, whoever was working there, it made it feel real awkward, because anytime I would just be browsing, there wouldn't be that many people in there, and they'd be kind of hounding me on like, do you know what you're looking for? Do you need help? Which is fine. But then it's like, are you going to buy something? Like, they would ask that question. I'd be like, hey, like I'm 14. I've got like $1 in my pocket, whatever. So, but then now I go to Keith's Comics in Mockingbird Station in Dallas, and those are my guys. It's a great conversation. They're always super helpful, always with great recommendations for, the guys who run the shop. Anybody who comes in, they know exactly what to recommend, what they're looking for, super helpful. So really inviting, real patient with everybody that comes in. So just my experience with this shop versus the one that I would always go to as a kid is night and day different. And, I still pop into Generation X when I'm back home from time to time. And so there are a couple guys there that are cool, and not as many guys are working there that used to work there when I grew up. So it's a little bit different, but yeah, I think the shop employees kind of can create a negative vibe or a positive vibe, a judgmental vibe or an unjudgmental vibe. And so if you're a shop owner watching this, be somebody who creates a very inviting atmosphere.
Be chill.
Yeah.
I think it also has a little bit to do with kind of like the era, right? Because comic book stores now are much more modern in their thought process. They're less clubhouse and more, they realize that they're trying to reach like just everybody instead of like a small segment of society. Because now that small segment of society has become everybody, because we're all watching movies and TV that are created from comic books.
That's right.
Not.
Absolutely. So
what do you think? Okay, so here's your experience as a kid. What do you think that they could have done back then that would have made you feel more comfortable? Other than not asking you, are you going to buy something?
Yeah, just kind of the, hey, how's it going? Like, that's the thing I try to look for now in a shop is, because I do know that comic book shops are a little bit more intimate places to be. And just getting to know people, like I was in there enough that they could have introduced themselves, asked what I liked. And if you got some kid who's young, one, tailing him around the store makes it feel like you think you think I'm gonna steal something, which is not helpful. But if you see me in there as often as I was, talking to me about stuff that I like and getting me, oh, well, you like this? Well, have you heard about this character? Just that. I was a big Batman fan. You could have asked me what I liked. I would have told you Batman. You probably have read some Batman that you like, and then you can tell me about these really cool stories that you think about Batman that you've read that maybe I haven't read because I'm young. And that, yeah, because and like again, I don't know how much of my portfolio you got to look at. Did you see that Ninja Turtles piece in there?
I did not get to see that.
Okay, yeah, it's a little 4-page Ninja Turtles piece, and the artist goes by Mike DJC. He is one of the managers at the comic book shop I go to, and he's a fantastic artist. But he is that kind of guy. When you come into Keith's Comics, he's just super inviting. What are you into? He knows everybody's likes, everybody's dislikes, and he has like every time. I'm just kind of, him and I will just shoot the breeze in the store on Wednesdays, and somebody will come in. I mean, it could be a 15-year-old kid with his mom that he sees every week, or it could be, a 50-year-old guy who's been coming to the shop for a decade, but he knows, hey, I know you like these types of books. This new book has just come out. Just check it out here. And I put this copy aside so you could look through it. That kind of stuff. Like that kind of like getting to know people. Because the shop is so intimate, the space itself in most shops is small. And if you, again, following somebody around, just kind of hounding them about what they're doing and why they're there to look at comic books, man. Like, chill out. So anyways, that's all. That's it. Just getting to know people, because the comic book shop is, I think, and you saw, I sent you kind of my resume and background. There's a liturgy in going to a shop it's a religious experience in a sense, not in any like cultish way, but in a good way. And when I became a writer, I knew that I needed to be in the practice of going to the shop on Wednesdays. That used to not be my thing. I used to pick up stuff in trade only, and would get it. I would just order it or go to Barnes and Noble or whatever. But when I was serious about writing, I knew I needed to focus more on like how an issue works versus how a trade works. But also just the practice of going to the shop and that whole experience and understanding it. And so there is a liturgical thing going on with comics, in my opinion, and especially with the comic book shop itself. And so there's a communal aspect to it. Anyways.
And people approach it differently, right? Because there's some people that I know go to the comic book shop. They're happy to be, to be greeted, but they really want to maybe spend 2 hours literally just digging through drawers and not have another soul talk to them. They're totally chill about that. And that's the way they spend their time. They're happy to do the dig. And then there's other people, they want to have like a 2-hour conversation with you.
That's true.
And I also love that too. So you just kind of like have to find the people on staff that understand your jam.
Yes, that's it. People who are understanding of the people that want to be left alone and the people that want to be talked to. But you have to get to know the people to do that. Yeah.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Boyd Weller says there's a comic shop where they grew up, where everyone knew that the owner was openly hostile. Oh no, I don't know how he's
Right?
doing it. That's not good to be openly hostile. I've
That's
seen
what I'm
people
saying.
say none of this stuff's for sale before.
Yeah, you're gonna find out real quick there's other shops, and this person is not gonna get your business very long.
Mm-hmm. Then
So
JD says the worst thing he experienced is going to comic shop where the employees couldn't care if you're there. Shop customer interaction equals repeat business. Yep.
that's it.
I don't
Right.
guess don't engage.
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
And then
Very
also
much.
they're talking about Twitch streams. If there's no interaction between the host and the people that are chatting, then why chat?
Yeah, here's what I'll say. And I try to, anytime I'm out of town or at a show for a con, if it's an awkward experience for me to talk to you about being a comic book writer, if I'm in your shop and kind of talking to you and say, oh, I write as well, and I've got these couple books, and trying to strike up a conversation where like, hey, I am out of town, but I know what I'm doing and I'm here for the con or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's real. And I've had experiences where shop owners are like, okay, like if you make me feel awkward in a comic book shop as a writer, I think that you're not a very good shop. That's my
we're literally like, do you have a bunch of stock in the car? You should go get it and sit down here and sell stuff.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Keith has done a great job. He's the owner of Keith's Comics.
Yeah.
He's been like, hey, we love local guys. We have a local section. You bring your stuff. We'll, bring me 10 copies. We'll buy it off you. And so he's been great about that. There's some other good shops around Dallas. Zeus is great. I just live too far away from it. Do want to shout it out
in that area?
Yeah.
You count like
yeah.
The greater Fort Worth, Dallas area. You've got
oh gosh, DFW. Yeah, because I grew up over closer to Fort Worth. There's one shop in Dallas that one of the owners is great, and I talk to him all the time when I'm in there, and the other owner is kind of lame and standoffish, but he's like the real business type.
Just hang out with the one that you like.
Right. And whenever I pop in and it's the one that's a little bit more standoffish, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and just leave. It's weird. So, but I'm not gonna put that shop on blast by any means.
Don't do that.
So I'm not gonna do it.
Having a crap day.
Would never do it.
Void Welder. I don't think that there are actually a lot of comic shops going out of business. I think comic shops are actually doing very well right now. So what you might be seeing is there's a lot of us old school people that have been doing comic shop for a long time. Like I started in '92, and there's a lot of those guys that are getting to be of retirement age, and they never had anybody on their staff or anyone that they know that expressed an interest in like taking over their legacy. And so those guys are just closing because they don't know what to do with it. So they're just like, well, I sell my thing, I go away. They move on to retirement time, which is fine. They should do that.
Yeah.
They earn the right. All right. I want to go, let's go way back. Do you remember what your very first comic book was? So
I've been getting that question every so often since I got into comics as a professional. And I can't remember the exact comic book, but it was an old Batman, like an old Batman, that my grandmother gave me. And I just thought it was awesome. I was in elementary school, younger. Joker was on the cover, but I'm talking about Adam West type Batman, like Bam Pow. It was definitely before, Frank Miller came and, revamped the character in a different way. So it was that old cartoony thing. That's all I remember. I remember getting that. And that was but the thing that got me into comics was the Batman Nightfall series. And Dark Phoenix Saga X-Men trade. I was watching, 92 X-Men. I mean, the X-Men cartoon was great. I was a cartoon kid, right? So Ninja Turtles. I didn't know Ninja Turtles was a comic until I was an adult. So Ninja Turtles cartoon, X-Men video games, Ninja Turtle video. So that was my jam. Batman, the animated series, the Batman movies, and then all of a sudden, and I knew Batman was comics and Superman, but that was about it. That was all I knew, and I was in like 6th grade. But I remember being at the Bedford Public Library and there was a comic section, and I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Oh wow, cool.
And I pulled Dark Phoenix Saga trade off the shelf, and I probably checked that thing out 300 times in a row. Like, there's a gap in the mid to late 90s where you go back in the records, and it's like Travis Hill has had this for 4 years and no one else got to read it. Because this was an awesome book.
I'm trying to think, was that Chris Claremont writing then?
Yes. Well, yeah. That I mean, it was the trade format. So Claremont was off the book at that point, but that Dark Phoenix was Claremont. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've since gone back and read all the Claremont in trade, and it's a slog. Shout out to his ability to introduce characters, very dynamic and interesting characters. Mm-hmm. But man, he can cover up some good art with a ton of words on a page. I love Claremont's storylines, great. Claremont characters, great. Dialogue, I don't need everybody expositing everything,
right?
To the sacrifice of somebody's art. Jim Lee's art or whoever was on the book at whatever time, Ramita Jr., all those types of things. Anyways, but yeah, and then but the thing that got me into like comic books, like the issues, I was at Half Price Books. If you don't have one of those around you, if you've never had the privilege of going to a Half Price Books, I'm sorry, because you can find a lot of good stuff. If you don't know, it's a used bookstore, and they've got you can what do you call it? Issue hunt in there. And so I'm just thumbing through the issues, and I pull out this one. I guess I'm in like 6th grade. I pull out this one where it is where Bane breaks Batman's back on the cover, and I'm like, "Yo, what is this?"
Was it the gatefoldy one?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I've got it out in the garage still. Like it's here. It has. And so that started this thing, and then I noticed I'm like flipping through it. I'm digging through, and there's a couple other ones. They've got the Nightfall logo and the bat symbol is going down or whatever, and they've got the number up there in the corner. And so I'm like looking through those, and I'm seeing, okay, there's like 7 or 8 of these here, but it's like number 3 and then number 12 and then and I'm like, okay, there's not enough. And so what I do is I start trying to find those, and I made a mistake with that whole. I mean, I eventually found all the Nightfall and all the Night Quest issues, and the Night Quest was so long, but yeah, that was a lot. I have them all still out in the garage in some old and one shoe boxes. But the Night's End, I got in a trade that was already there at Half Price Books along with the rest. So I got that. I read it first, so I knew the ending of the whole thing. And then once I had all the issues collected, I went and read it all through. And it took it. I was almost done with high school. It took about 6 years to get them all, but I got them all. And so that to me was this process of comics, of finding all of these, and I just thought that was fun. And so I don't know. I think the idea. I love world building, and when you can tell a story across multiple titles, that I was introduced to that in the Nightfall thing, because it's like Shadow of the Bat, Detective, Batman, all 4 of those, Showcase 93. So it's running across all these titles, and I'm like, oh, all these different authors are in on this, and I love that. And so that's why right now I'm obsessed with Krakoa era X-Men, because
it's Hickman writing just the way we remember Claremont used to. Lots of words.
Yeah, I love Hickman, and I do think Hickman gives enough space for art. But I like the fact that you've got this team working together to tell these stories. So that Hickman started off, House of X, Powers of X, something I feel like
that's right
was novelty in comics in general, and to do something novelty 100 years into the game, great job. And so that, but then you have all these writers kind of in on the story, weaving it together. I'm loving it. It's great. And I think
they've done all these other touches to it, right? Like Way of X, which gave you like touch on the religious aspect of Krakoa.
right.
Then I can't remember the name of it. There was one that was like the business aspects of Krakoa.
Yes. X Corp. X Corp is great.
World building.
Yeah, exactly. So world building is like what I love. I mean, to an obsessive degree. So that's what got me started. And then I'm thinking about a couple of ways that I've done comics, because I didn't read Marvel comics until I got out of college. I read Dark Phoenix Saga as a kid. I read Spider-Man Blue at some point, but that was it. Those are the only 2 Marvel comics I read until I was like 25. But then I was at another used bookstore that had a ton of graphic novels, like those, big collection hardcovers, like the JMS Spider-Man collections. There's like 5 of those, or whatever.
Big omnibuses.
Not that, but the oversized hardcover ones. Yeah, or 12 issues or whatever. And so like Straczynski's Spider-Man, he's got like 7 or 8 of them, and they're in there on the shelves of this place, Second and Charles, in Shreveport, for like $5, like $40 books for like $5. Oh gosh!
Did you buy all of them?
I did. No, it's like now I have a whole. Like I said, I have not read Marvel, and now let me see if I can do this. Now I just have a whole Marvel shelf, of whatever, and that's all from that store, and then collecting out of that store and getting into this world building of like that whole 2000 era, 2000 Bendis, when Bendis was running the Avengers, and you had Civil War and Secret Invasion and then Siege. I had all the Avengers titles, Dark Avengers, Mighty Avengers, whatever. I don't know. Whatever their titles are. Yeah, Mighty Avengers. And then all the hardcover trades. I have all 7 Civil War hardcovers. That's like my pride and joy on the shelf. And then every character that was involved, like Thor's hardcover that Straczynski did, everything that was in that era, I'm like, I got to know what's going on in this world. What's Spider-Man up to while Iron Man's locking everybody up or whatever? And so this world building that I think Marvel does way better than DC kind of started drawing me into that world as well. And so anyways, that's my history with comics from age 10 to 25.
I mean, 30. I think a lot of our viewers probably have, similar things that happened in their upbringing or their relationship with comics. I mean, yours sounds very familiar to me. Like, I only had exposure to comic books because there was another family that my mom hung out with that had a few, and then I found them in the 90s. Like, that was when I actually discovered them. It wasn't at a half price books because they didn't exist in Oklahoma City, but it was a half price type store.
Sure.
So I totally understand that. And then, of course, the 92 X-Men. I mean, that thing was
a TV
show.
It
was a lot of people.
Did it. Pulled
like
the
if you just do that.
That's
everyone. Too many by X-Men, right?
Right. Yeah. The sun is, hey, look, if that is an unforgettably catchy tune. I mean, that is it. Like when it drops, what's up. So
I think it's called an earworm. I am not going to acknowledge you think Travis Hill loved the X-Men 3 movie. We're just going to skip by that question.
The Last Stand?
No poking bears.
Look, The Last Stand was garbage, but it's all James Marsden's fault. Blame him. Blame him. He wanted to go play Lois Lane's boyfriend because his buddy Bryan Singer was doing Superman Returns, so they had to kill him off in X3.
It's okay, man. I universally, mostly because of the love triangle that they formed back in the 90s with Wolverine and Jean and Cyclops. Well, I guess there's more than a triangle. It's a square because I include Prof X in that love triangle, even though one of them's not really romantic. It's more like love. But I always hated Scott because I thought he was kind of a D-bag. And he was standing in the way of Wolvie and Jean getting together. So
okay.
Like it messed me up.
Okay.
Let's see. JD also says, talking about Bendis's Avengers run, remember him really putting effort into Luke Cage and the Hood.
Yeah, those were great characters. He handed off after Siege. Luke Cage took the leadership of the Avengers. I thought that was great. Good move. I thought his writing tailed off after that. Bendis from 2002 to 2010 was untouchable. Mm-hmm. And then after that, he kind of waned a little bit. But yeah, no, that was good. The concentration on, and then especially Jessica Jones and Luke Cage's relationship and having a kid and having to think about that. And all that was going on over in Mighty Avengers. And I thought that was great. It was showing, family life and how do you be a family? How are you a family? How can you be a family man or a mom or whatever and go and fight bad guys all the time? It was good. It was good stuff.
I think that's really why I glommed more onto Marvel than I did ever for DC, because I always felt like DC was kind of telling a story just as a means to get to a cool battle, which all that was awesome too. But there weren't very many books that honed in on a relationship. Yeah. And then the battles were just kind of like they were there because they needed to have battles every once in a while. But
so you like Tom King's Batman?
I loved it. I was so sad when he didn't get to finish that story.
Yeah, I loved it too. I thought it was good. People hated on it. And I think Tom King, as any writer, is not perfect, but I thought it was good. It was a different pace, and it was a pace that it needed to be.
Yeah, but then I liked King's run of Batman. I liked Tynion's run of Batman. Okay. So I think they've carried on well enough with that kind of feel for that character that I'm still vested. I still want the through story to happen, right? Yeah. I always had this theory that Cat and the Bat actually really did get married and just didn't tell Bane through with him.
Joey, dang.
Stop it, Joey.
Hey, look, I've got my complaints about that author, but I'll keep him to myself.
And I have this big thing that I do where it's like, I don't, I know that there are people that make wrong decisions in life, and they are, there are some despicable people that are writers or artists or whatever. Yeah. But when these guys get caught in whatever shenanigans they're up to, when people just say, I'm never buying that book and I'm canceling the book, I'm like, there are other people that worked on that daggum book and they worked hard. It's not their fault. There's a bad actor that's part of it. So I'm just like, I don't care. I'm still carrying that book.
That's true. That all can get messy. Mm-hmm. It can get messy. But yeah, Tynion's run was okay. I thought that it had a lot of buildup that Fear State didn't deliver on. That was my take. I thought and plenty of stories can do that, right? You build up the tension so much. You're promising such an ending that it just doesn't get there. And I think part of him having to write through Future State in the middle of that, where Future State was weird, right? It's like promising what's happening down the road in the middle of all these storylines that are going on. And you're like, well, what is supposed to be going on when? It was confusing. And so I felt like that probably didn't help Tynion out a whole lot. But, Snyder and Capullo, that Batman is my favorite. So Tom King having to follow it up, Tynion coming later. I don't know. I just thought that was the new 52 Batman was something real special. So
yeah, I always feel like it's a hard thing for those big companies to try to maintain a really good run through their major books. Yeah. But then also have big event. Gosh. Things happen once a year or twice a year, whatever they try to do, and still try to keep the continuity of everything straight and not getting messy and have people be like, I don't know what's going on, so I'm out of here. Yeah, it's tough.
DC's terrible at it. Marvel is way better at it. That's all I know. But I do think it's hard.
Yeah, because Contagion didn't do well. That was
or Convergence, is that what it was?
Well, Convergence, Convergence.
Contagion was the Batman story, in the
that one's great.
In the mid 2000s, which was good. It was very good. But yeah, Convergence was terrible. It was terrible, and you didn't know what it tied to. It was New 52 was weird, but you got some good stuff out of it. So
not the truth.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to get into the deep dive of all the things that Travis has been working on, both at school and in comic books. So give us a second. We're going to take a break and come right back.
This is The Experience.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey there, hi there, hello there. You're as welcome as can be.
Hi, I'm Nancy McCann. Welcome to Friday Night Live on The Experience.
Welcome everybody to Fat Jack's Comic Crypt. Brendan, Al, Jason, hanging out.
There I am. Welcome back to Kicking It with Henry, folks. I am your host, Henry Kumpa. It's great to be here with you guys.
So we are going to talk about books that are in stores this week.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mishmash.
Hello, and welcome to the Black Comics Universe, presented by Peep Game Comics.
And you gotta love it that the first people in a minute to skim it are creators.
Up, everybody! Welcome to another Wednesday Warriors. My name is Joey Galvez, and this is my pal Ambrosia.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Space Cadets.
Hey!
What's up?
Welcome, everyone, for another episode of I Must Ask You a Question.
Hi, everybody! Welcome to Nerd News Now.
Hey, this is Rex. Welcome to Comic Collectibles.
Hey, hello, all you happy people. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is the crazy show that we do on Thursdays called What's in the Box?
What's in the box?
Comic culture and sales.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Everybody, and welcome back. I'm going to take this opportunity to remind you, please give us some thumbs up and some hearts and mash that subscribe button so you never miss a show, because we're having a really great time today talking to Travis, and I don't want you to miss that ever again, because you'll get notifications if you do. So please support all the hard work of the people behind the scenes, also like Jay, who's our producer for this show.
Jen, I have a question for you before you have any more questions for me. You're in Houston. You're in Houston. I was trying to pick this up during these advertisements. And were you at the Dallas Fan Expo in September?
I was not.
Okay. But did you have, I feel like there was a table there that had like what's in the box things for sale.
Oh, that's hilarious. No.
Okay. I was like, have I met you before? Because there is like, it might not have been what's in the box, but it was something like that where you can buy a box and you can't see, it's like a cardboard box, but it has like 50 issues of like old stuff. And then you buy it for like $10 and you get like 50 old. Yeah.
I love buying boxes.
I was like, wait, did we meet? Has this happened?
The What's in the Box show that we do, I save a bunch of like when I get stock in from like independent creators or directly from small press publishers or just weird stuff that comes in. Sometimes I don't even know what it is. Sometimes it's just like a poster from somebody to put up on the wall.
Sure.
I save those boxes and I open them during this show, but then I also try to like let people see collections that are the first time that they get to be seen by anybody gets to be seen on that show. So
awesome. Way more fun and exciting than what I just described happening at Dallas Fan Expo.
Only if there's like some opportunity to like get like a Hulk 181 in one of those blind boxes, then that's way more fun.
They're not putting anything good in those boxes. Those things
are being like readable stuff that you don't have.
That's true. I'm not trying to hate, but there you go. Both very good surprise out of the box shows or opportunities.
Okay, we're going to go kind of way back because I do want to talk about this because it's super intriguing to me.
Yeah.
You spent a year as a professional basketball player.
I
Is
did.
this from? Did you were you in basketball from as soon as you could dribble, and then all the way through high school, and then go to college and move
Yeah.
up from there? How's that
Yeah.
work?
So I started playing basketball out of spite. My first sport was baseball. My dad knew everything about it. He coached all my teams, but my dad was really stern and expected perfection and hated mistakes. I mean, I love my dad, but he was really tough. He was tough. Old school, grew up poor in the hard neighborhoods in Dallas. And so, he got a little edge to him. And so anytime I would mess up in baseball, I was always hoping. I hated we'd have a little roundup after the game, and I'd look to see where my mom was, and my mom would be leaving, and I'd be like, if I played bad, I was like, please don't let her leave. I just want to ride with her. I do not want to ride with my dad while he cusses me out for striking out 3 times. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And so I found out my dad knew nothing about basketball at all. So I played that. I said, look, he would just show up to the games and practices and try to learn. And he was still kind of hard on me, but he couldn't say much because he didn't know what he was talking about. And so it saved me a lot of lectures. And I thought, this is great. You don't know anything about this, so I'm going to play this. And that's what I did. But I loved it. I met a ton of friends through it. Played in college. A small school, small little D1 school in Shreveport called Centenary College of Louisiana. And then I got the chance to play with a semi-pro team. So I don't want to make it more than what it is. And we played just games in the Midwest, and we were based in Ohio, Xenia, Ohio, little tiny town. And we played
from Ohio here.
There you go. And we played other minor league teams across the Midwest and on the East Coast. And the whole point of that team, it was we got paid a little bit. But the point of it was to springboard players into leagues overseas. That's what it was.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, it was a good little, and a bunch of guys went. I had guys on that team that played in Taiwan, which is a really good league, played in Australia, played in Israel. So just a lot of good opportunities, but and I was hoping to go and play in Israel. Had gotten a contract offer over there. They had to it was in Palestine, so I'm not, because if anybody on the call knows anything about international basketball, Israel has a great league that pays high dollar, low level NBA money. It's good.
So you can make a living.
Yeah, you can make a living. Yes. On the other side of the divide, Palestine has its own basketball league. Now over there, you are literally playing for shekels, and you can make a good living playing. If you stay in Palestine, but if you try and bring that money back to the U.S., you're as broke as anybody else. But I had a contract offer over there, and they had to push the start of the season back because of some conflict, some conflict with Israel, and that's how it goes. That's just, and I was, 25 at the time. I was like, all right, whatever, who cares? Just when the season starts, I'll come out there. But during that gap in time, I was working out and my hip broke, and I didn't know, but a tumor had been growing on it. I had been experiencing pain, but I just thought it was a normal, I had a contusion or something, or a banged up hip, and you just kind of play through it. But what it was I had a giant cell tumor of the bone that was eroding my bone marrow and just eating my bone, and I didn't know that. So eventually it broke, and they had to do a full top of the femur replacement, the ball of the ball and socket in your hip. They replaced that. Super painful. But then I was done. I was done playing, and I was real, kind of depressed for a while, because you have this plan to play basketball for a long time, and it just kind of is gone in like that. It's gone. So I'm only 6'1". At just the angle in the room and the white walls kind of throw it all off. But yeah, so you had to find a new direction. So the first thing I did was I started teaching math at the high school level and coaching basketball. And I did that for 4 years, and then I just didn't, that wasn't it. And so I went to seminary here in Dallas. So I left because I went back to Shreveport to teach and coach, and then I came here to Dallas.
Did you go to
and
DTS?
I did go to DTS. That's right.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Dallas Theological Seminary. That's where I met the artist for Mustard Seed and Thorn, two of my comic projects. He's an artist in New York now, working for the film and television industry there. He's doing great. And his name's Mark Pate. He's fantastic. You should all look him up. But yeah, and so from there, during seminary, I had an idea for a comic, and that was in 2016. And ever since then, I've just been kind of riding this wave of stuff that is in my brain that I get to put on paper. So yeah, but I'll say this. I enjoyed teaching and coaching. I'm working full-time doing nonprofit work in Dallas. I've been doing that since I've been here since 2015. But basketball was this passion that comics has now replaced. And it took me a while to find it from one to the other. It took me about 7 years in between, basketball, medical retirement, and writing my first comic script. But I found what was next. It just took a little longer than I thought. So
happy Monday, 62 Lefty Blues. Welcome. Okay, so did you go straight from like college straight to your master's work? I mean, you've got a couple degrees and you're working on the best one. So
yeah, no, I played ball for a year, came back to Shreveport, worked for another year. So it's 2 years off. And then once I got that year after basketball, the first thing I did was work in admissions at my college. I had a buddy, a former teammate whose dad got an admissions job at my college and hired me. And then I didn't like that. I wanted to get into coaching faster. And so the moment I started teaching and coaching, I enrolled in the master's program, master's education program at the college that I got my undergrad at. So I finished that, did that for 4 years, did it part-time. Then I came to Dallas, went to Dallas Seminary, got my master's theology, and then moved on to UT Dallas, and now I'm doing a PhD in history. So just a lot of academic work. That's what it is. A lot of writing, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot.
I love all the combinations of things like the degrees and stuff that you have make me believe that you had a bunch of things you were interested in. So you were like, I'll just study all of it.
That's right. That's it. That's exactly right. And as you learn more, you learn that maybe what you're in the middle of at the time is not where you want to be. And you move to a different area and that's the thing about academics. As you move up, your field of expertise gets more narrow until you get to talk about one thing and write a book about it, and then you retire. And that's what it is. That's kind of, and maybe you get invited to do some articles and textbooks. And so
look at Joey. Thank you, Joey.
Thanks, man.
He is a gem. All right.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so something I'm super interested that's on your list is that you're doing things for a group that's I think the company is Sequential Potential, where you're taking things that would normally be like yawn, boring, like academic work, and making it cool by making it into a comic book.
Sure. Okay. So a couple of things. Yeah. The reason I'm working for them is because the academic stuff is also interesting to me. But it could be to the layperson kind of boring, but that's not really so much. Actually, I'll say this. It's not the idea of taking boring stuff and making it more interesting. Mm-hmm. That's not it. What we do mainly is how can we take this research and then it's more like we're creating comic abstracts for the work. How can we take this research, turn it into a 4 to 8 page comic where even other researchers can read it and know what the research is about and make it worth diving into. And so, for example, Jeffrey Hardin and Kirkland. These are two professors from Virginia, political science professors from Virginia and Notre Dame. They're writing a book called The Illusion of Accountability, and it's talking about how transparency laws in state legislatures in the United States don't really help. They don't really help our politicians do better at their job, because that's the book, and it's about how these open transparency laws, they're originally intended to kind of hold kind of our state legislatures accountable to what they say they're going to do. But what it does is it takes away their ability to compromise, because if you have open meetings and you have cameras on you all the time, then you're politicking and campaigning, and you're not actually compromising to get laws that benefit the betterment of society. That's their argument. And so then their thing is, the people who win ultimately are lobbyists. And so it's a great research thing, but not everybody might want to read that, you know? So what I was tasked to do, they came to us and they wanted a 4-page comic that kind of broke down the history of these open meeting laws. Mm-hmm. And they kind of highlighted the things that they wanted, the 4 movements in the history of the United States. So one page, boom. And our team, I got the script assignment. I took that. I got their 250-page manuscript. Mm-hmm. I read it. I honed in on chapter 2, which is where they wanted the material to come from. And I scripted a comic. They approved it. Our artist got on it. And so that's kind of that's kind of the process of it. And so it is. And now someone can read my 4-page comic that's in their book. They can open up their book on the shelf at Barnes & Noble or whatever. Read the 4-page comic that our team at SP did, and see if that's kind of a story that entices them to think about the research and dive into the research. So It's a lot of fun, though. I love it. Our team is great. Derek Ritter and John DeLuca and Alex Zaria. I'm drawing a blank on his last name. I feel bad. He's like our project manager, fantastic colorist and letterer. They're great. They're fantastic. And then like our owner, our co-owner and just business manager, her name is Emily Ritter. She's fantastic. She is a political science professor at Vanderbilt, and she's like one of the top political science professors in like the country. So, I mean, she's just good. And her husband, Derek, is a fantastic artist. And so they run the company, they founded the company, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Good team.
I think it's brilliant. There's a local professor here that's I think the lead professor of criminal justice at the University of Houston.
Hey. And
she's made a set of books called Crim Comics, which each one tackles a different school of thought on criminal activity. And it makes it so much easier to understand.
It does.
If you're a visual learner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was doing a podcast a couple weeks ago, and Kevin Joseph said, hey, there's this study. I didn't even know about this, but that consuming like comics and like illustrated concepts is like better for retaining information. I was like, well, I agree. So
make everything into a comic.
Yeah. Keeps me employed if you do. Call sequential potential.
True.
Yeah.
All right. Then I see you've got some stuff with Band of Bards, Black Gun, and then a single story, Alas Goodbye. Can you give a little pitch for those?
Okay. So, Black Gun is it's a work of historical fiction. It looks at, I kind of take the concept of Bass Reeves, but I'm not pulling on his life as much as I would. So I changed the character, just this kind of concept of who Bass Reeves is. I have this character, Cletus Rhodes. He's a U.S. Marshal, but he was raised by Creek Indians once he escaped slavery. So that's kind of a Bass Reeves type narrative. And yet he finds out kind of this plot to take native land in the Oklahoma territories to expand the U.S. West. And so now, and the Marshals are in on it. You know, they're trying to for the sake of the United States, like kind of do some dirty stuff to push this agenda forward. And so Cletus is kind of caught in the middle of, does he stay true to his upbringing, this community that raised him, or this community? They're two adoptive communities of his that he believes in very much, like this righteousness of the law, and then this like community that gave him a home in this native tribe. And so what does he do? And so it kind of looks at that. And so that'll crowdfund, to my knowledge, next spring through Band of Bards. Richard Kemp is the artist on that. He's awesome. And then A Last Goodbye is kind of a post-apocalyptic climate change world about a man who has given his all to kind of help the earth, do humanitarian aid as the earth kind of slowly slipped into climate change, disarray and dystopia. And he's done with that. And he's got one final mission that he wants to complete for himself. But on his journey, he kind of gets caught up in a conflict that is, kind of messy and two warring fractions in this future dystopia. So it's a one shot. We pitched it as like an 11-page short story for their anthology. They said it didn't really fit their anthology, but they would like to expand it from 11 pages to the 40 pages. And so said, okay. And Ben Humenick is the artist. Fantastic. Again,
Ben. He's local.
Right. Ben is Houston. Yeah. And that all started, that was a short story that I wrote a long time ago, prose format. Mm-hmm. And Ben and I tabled together last September at Dallas Fan Expo. And Ben said, hey, we should have a con exclusive comic. Do you want to put anything together? And I said, well, I've got this story that I wish would be sequential instead of prose. And I gave it to him. He's like, oh yeah, I'll draw this. And then he just did. And I was like, awesome. And look, I'm blown away by how many times artists will come to me and be like, hey, I want to do a portfolio piece, or let's do a joint piece. I'll, draw these pages for free. And I'm just like, yeah, sure. Anytime an artist asks me to do something that they'll draw for free and that I don't have to ask them anything, I say yes. Writers, that's a tip. Anytime an artist asks for you to script a portfolio piece, do it. Just do it. Do it.
Just wrap your mind around the fact that Ben also is an English teacher and runs a comic book kid, his for his high school, the club. And
Ben's a superstar. Never stops. He's on an anthology every month. The dude, he's I don't know how he does it.
He's doing what it takes to get your name out there and work.
That's right.
All right, so there's something that's attached to Free Comic Book Day that people probably can look forward to finding. That's the Thorn book out from Advent. Tell about that. Why do they need to pick that up?
Look, Thorn is the thing that I'm going to be pushing the most. It is my look. It's a vigilante justice book, but it looks at the thing about Batman, Spider-Man, all these types of characters. The law works out for them, right? Like Gotham PD.
There's a blind eye a lot.
No, but I mean, but New York PD found Uncle Ben's killer. Like they bring him, they're going to arrest him. Batman, Gotham PD is going to find, there's some corrupt cops, sure, whatever. But in the end, they're going to find your parents' killer because your parents were rich, and the law works out for you. So your little thing about justice or whatever, it doesn't make, I love Batman, but that whole thing does not make a lot of sense because justice didn't fail you in some way, right? Thorn is about what happens when the police aren't going to find your killer, or when the police officer is the one doing violence to you. What happens when the system is against you? What kind of vigilante arises out of those types of situations to defend their neighborhood? So that's it. It's with Advent. It is going to be in previews, so it'll be on pre-order. The 0 issue will be the Free Comic Book Day comic for Advent in 2023. And that'll be May, I'm told. And so then July will roll the first issue, and it'll be a 12-issue story, and it'll come out every other month for 24 months. So it was great. Advent gave us a 12-issue deal. Love them. Tony is great over there. So definitely check that out. please. And I will be pushing that. Travis B Hill 5 on Twitter. When it comes time to put in some orders for that free comic book day, I'll be pushing for that for sure. So
that makes sense. I have to go look at my numbers and see how many I have inbound.
Yeah.
And then through Dauntless Stories, Techno Nights. This sounds cool.
Yeah. Okay. So real quick, this is I'm being told we got 5 minutes left. So Techno Nights is my first full series. I've been in anthologies. I've done shorts that have been out there in the world, but it's my first full series. It's with Dauntless. Artist Marcus Jimenez is fantastic. Check him out. The story is a love letter to growing up, to my love letter to Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles and my brothers. I got 3 brothers, and and we all kind of match, some personalities of the characters that I grew up on. And so the story itself, it's a Super Sentai comic that looks at what happens when, you feel like you've defeated the evil, and you've grown up, and now the evil comes back. So the Power Rangers were teenagers, the Ninja Turtles were teenagers. But what happens when they grow up? What happens when they've reflected on the past that they had? What happens when some of them learn that, hey, I was recruited to be a child soldier in an eternal war, and that's probably wrong to do to a kid. So how do you reflect on that as adults? How does it kind of build tension in your brotherly bond? And then what happens when you thought you put that evil to bed, but now it's back 20 years later? Is the band getting back together? Are they not? Do they care to stop it? Do they care to be involved? And so that's the story. It's available for pre-order right now on Dauntless's website. Dauntless has an in-house crowdfunding platform called Greenlight. And what they do is, it's not an all or nothing like Zoop or Kickstarter. What it does is it shows you the number there, shows you how much we've calculated to cover the cost of 250 soft covers and 50 hard covers. The hard covers are limited edition, so there will only be 50 printed. There will be 50 printed and only 50. And then, so it calculates that cost of how much to print those, and then cover our cost of variant covers. Simone Ragazzoni, Power Rangers artist, did a fantastic variant cover for the hardcover edition. So y'all check that out. So that you have those. There's some different options, but yeah. So it covers. There's the $7,000 total on that bar meter, and it's to cover the cost of those prints, and then pay the team what we all would like to be paid. But we have
smart.
And so I think I love what Dauntless is doing. They're just being open and honest and saying, this is how much it's going to cost to make this thing. If you would like to help us. And so, but we have our benchmarks of, we won't get to 250 soft covers if we don't get to this number, or we'll get to print the whole run. But people will get paid a little less down there. So we've navigated all that. And so, yeah. And there's also a retail pack of $70 for 10 soft covers and 10 prints. That's a $220 value. Okay. Cause the soft cover and print costs $22. So 10 of those would be $220, but retailers can get them for $70 and sell them in the store if they want. So yeah, if you're a retailer out there. Yeah.
All right, we got to wrap up.
No, I was hoping you might have some follow-up questions for Techno Nights because it's coming out, but we had a great conversation.
Absolutely. We'll have you back when we get closer to maybe Free Comic Book Day, or whenever next spring when Black Gun comes out. I would love to have you back.
Yeah.
Where should people follow you on social media?
I'm only on Twitter, Travis B Hill 5. And so any of my comic stuff, I'm talking about comics, academics, social justice usually, and then the NBA. The NBA playoffs right now, so you'll see a lot of that. So those are the things.
Love it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being super interactive today. Thank you, Travis, for coming and being willing to do a whole hour with us. We appreciate your time is super valuable. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you guys next time for more Talkin' Shop.
See y'all. Thank you.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.